County Park. Santa Teresa County Park is in South San Jose off of Bernal Road. And it's, you just take Bernal Road and go past the golf course. You won't see too many wildflowers there. Just keep on taking Bernal Road further up away from the developed parts of the park, and then you'll reach this area that has trail names that have very attractive names like Hidden Springs, Coyote Peak, and Rocky Ridge. They should have good wildflowers up there. And one place you can find out more information about Santa Teresa County Park is the Friends of Santa Teresa Park. A lot of these parks have volunteer groups, friends of groups. And they lead hikes, and they lead volunteer projects, and they have lots of information that they post on their website or put out literature. So often you will want to go to the park agency website to find out information, but there are these volunteer groups, the Friends of groups, that have very good information also. So check those out. So the Friends of Santa Teresa Park, they are a volunteer organization that was formed to support the park. Ron Horry, who I have never met, I'm not even sure how to pronounce his name, but I did talk to him recently in putting this presentation up together. He has lots of photos of wildflower hikes on their website, so it's worth checking those out. And the featured flowers here are, there's the line of California poppies, our state flower, all along the trail. And then beneath that is Gypsum Spring Beauty, which is a very small flower, but they come in all sizes. So a couple of things about Santa Teresa County Park. I did want to mention when you go to a park, it's a good idea to prepare beforehand. If you haven't been to the park before, I do recommend that you check out the website, or at least check out the signboard when you get to the park. Again, each agency has a little bit of a different way to manage their preserves or their parks. Some of the city and county parks have a little bit more developed features there. They might even have soccer fields or ball fields in the park. They'll have bathrooms and picnic areas and maybe even campgrounds. The agency that I work for, the Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District, we are more in the wilderness wild area, so we don't have any ball fields on most of our parks, and it's much more about hiking and mountain biking and equestrian and contemplation in nature. So it'll be less, there'll be less bathrooms, there won't be trash cans, so each park will be a little bit different. So I do recommend that if you haven't been someplace before, check out their website or talk to people to get a little bit more familiar with how that park is. And then each agency will have different rules. And some places are very sensitive and you're asked not to go off trail. So please follow those directions. Usually you're not supposed to go off trail because of the sensitivity of the resources there. In other locations, it's okay to go off trail. And if you see something that you'd like to look at closer, if it's okay on that part, go on up there. Other trail ethics things to remember, of course, is to don't leave litter, haul it out, and also don't pick the flowers. Leave them there for the insects, right? But leave them there for other people to see. And again, the purpose of the flowers is to make seeds. And if you take them away from that park, then there's going to be less seeds for flowers in the future. So those are a couple of things to remember when you go out hiking. So these are some beautiful photos of Santa Teresa County Park that Dee Wong provided to me. Again, all of these photos were given to me by local folks who have taken them actually out there on the parks, and many of them are very beautiful. You might not always see it exactly like this, but this is the potential that you can see when you do go out there. So Santa Teresa County Park, because it's so close to these residential areas, it also has rocky outcrops, there's farm buildings on it, and the wildflowers and the oaks. I noticed that I see a lot of really good photographs from that park. And I think, you know, people are working on their jobs all day long, and in the spring and summer they have just enough time and sunlight to get into these parks that are close to the cities and relax and get some really beautiful photographs. So that's another fun thing to do when you're in these areas. And these two flowers are, again, Dee got the poppies, and chia is that spiky purple looking flower alongside the trail. It's so nice to see a trail with native plants all along it instead of thistles. And then the other plant is a plant that comes up from a bulb, and it's known as blue dicks. So you'll see those out there in many other locations also. By the way, if you have some questions, if you don't mind, I would like to take those at the end. Okay. Joseph D. Grant County Park. So this is 8 miles up Mount Hamilton Road, east of San Jose. It's 10,000 acres of grass and oaks. It's a very big park. 52 miles of trails. So there's a lot of adventures that you could take there. Some of the recommended trails for wildflowers are San Felipe Trail, at Corral Trail, Halls Valley Trail, Brush Trail at Dutch Flat Trail. And I want to encourage you to take your family hiking. So sometimes kids don't like to hike. And my advice is to start them out with shorter distances and pick some areas that are particularly pretty or interesting, and just go out on a regular basis. Steve gave me this photograph. This is Samantha. She looks pretty happy, doesn't she? So, you know, you can't always take your kids out on a 6-mile hike and right away they like it. But if you take them out on shorter hikes and they start to like it, then they will go further distances with you. So it's an opportunity to spend some time outside with you, to see things they might not normally see, and to start to learn how to look and find things, so you can make it even like a treasure hunt. So again, I'd like to encourage you to take your kids, take your friends hiking. There are certain people in my family that if we're not getting along, if I take them for a hike, we usually are able to work it out. So I think everybody's brain works differently outside. So take people hiking with you. I know that when I'm doing photography, I usually don't take people with me because they want to go too fast, and I'm too slow when I do photography. But if I've got somebody visiting, I won't pull the camera out as often, and we'll go a little bit further distance, and that's something that they like. Here's another shot of Joseph Grant County Park, and this is the 2 different scales of seeing wildflower blooms in the spring. You sometimes have the carpets and the hills and the fields of wildflower and patches, big patches of color. And that's always very nice to see. But then you can also look at the flowers up close. And this is shooting star. It's a very different looking flower, very colorful. So some people first start only looking for the big patches, but if you can slow down and start looking at the flowers closer up, you can see some pretty interesting things. Any idea what pollinates this flower? I think it's ants.
Sally would know.
Yeah, but the petals are, if you look at it closely, you can see usually a flower, there's a center part and the petals are out like this. In this case, the petals are bent way back like that. So that probably has something to do with the pollinator. Okay, one more area in the south, and this is one of my favorite areas to go hiking for wildflowers, or to go hiking anytime except for the summer in the south area, and that's Sierra Azul Open Space Preserve. It's a very big preserve. It's about, I think it's about 14,000 acres right now, and there's a lot of different trails, but my favorite section is the Woods Trail and the Barlow Road. So you can take Barlow Road to Woods Trail, and that is 4.3 miles. And then if you want to make a loop out of it, you can walk out Mount Umunum Road. And this is a rural section of Mount Umunum Road, so you don't have cars whizzing by you. You can walk up that about another mile. So that's about 5.5 miles if you want to make a complete loop. If you don't want to make it that long, you can park at the Jacques Ridge parking lot off of Woods Trail and walk either just a second section of Woods Trail, or you can have a shuttle between the Barlow Road and the Woods Trail trailheads. And again, you don't have to remember all of that. Just go to the Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District's website, and you can figure out what length you and your companions want to take. But let me tell you why I like this trail. It took me a while to realize why there's so much variety to this. It's on the mountainside below Mount Umunum. If any of you know the tall mountain south of San Jose with the former military headquarters box up there, the radar tower, it's below that. But the way those trails are set up, you basically go 360 degrees. You're in open grassland, there's a lot of shrubby chaparral, and you're also in woods. You're at the headwaters of several streams, Guadalupe River in San Jose. You cross the headwaters of Guadalupe Creek. It's a creek by the time you get up onto this trail. You cross it when you're on Woods Trail. And so you're also in forest, so it has a lot of variety, but it also has, because it goes along the side of the mountain and goes basically in a circle, you're sometimes facing north, sometimes south, sometimes east, sometimes west. And so you can get some really incredible views. This was 2 Sundays ago when I led a hike with some of our volunteers. We do a census of wildflowers along this trail every year. And we were having the best time because when you have sun and shade, some places there's these rocky outcroppings where the water just seeps down those rocky outcrops all winter long. It's still doing it this very wet spring, and there's a lot of plants and moss growing on those. You have all these conditions, and you have all these views different directions. So that's my very long description of why I like that trail. A lot of variety. And these are some of the plants we saw 2 weeks ago out there, and they're still out there. The red larkspur on the top with the spur on the back of it. I'm sure we probably have some downstairs. And then also the sedum with that grows on rocks with a bunch of mosses, and it's actually blooming this time of year. It's also known as Pacific stonecrop. I wouldn't take this trail in the summer unless you're from Southern California. It does get quite hot up there in the summer, but it's nice during the spring and the fall and the winter. Okay, so those are the south area parks. Let's move north. So it's gotten a little further in the spring, you go a little bit further north, and now the flowers are starting to bloom there. Edgewater Park and Nature Preserve, if there's one hike that you're going to go on, if your family from Scotland is visiting and you've got to show them the best place in California, in the 4 hours you have with them, go to Edgewater Park. It is, in our area, it is most consistently and reliably blooming on almost any year. Some years are better than others, but you can always find wildflowers up there. And it has serpentine soils again. So that's one of the reasons why you get so many blooms there. It's also relatively flat, so it's a pretty easy hike there. And it is near Redwood City and right next to Highway 280. So you can kind of see 280 in the background there. This shot is going, this photograph is taken from Edgewater Park over the western section of it, across the highway, and then you're looking at the gap of Highway 92 into Half Moon Bay. So that's the direction this is. But as you can see, there's fields of flowers there. Those are gold fields. As a matter of fact, the general manager with the Open Space District on Thursday, he came by my office and he said, I just got back from San Francisco, and Edgewood looks amazing from the highway. It's all these different colors and big patches. Well, imagine what it looks like when you go hiking there. No, I didn't tell him that, but but again, it's consistently beautiful like this. And what does it look like when you go hiking?